Sepang International Circuit. Sepang was modern F1's wake-up call. When it debuted in 1999, it looked like the future. Sweeping turns, wide straights, and a double hairpin layout perfect for wheel-to-wheel racing. It was also hot enough to melt strategy. Drivers dropped weight in sweat, tyres died early, and engines cooked under Malaysia's brutal humidity. This track didn't just test the car, it tested the crew. Rain could drown a race in minutes. Heat could sabotage it just as fast. And the layout always delivered action. In 2012, Alonso won in a Ferrari that had no business being up front. In 2013, Vettel disobeyed team orders and passed Webber in the infamous Multi-21 drama, nearly blowing up Red Bull's garage from the inside. Fans loved Sepang. It was accessible, exciting, and full of surprises. But in 2017, it was dropped from the calendar, blamed on declining attendance and high hosting costs. Even now, drivers say it's one of Tilke's best creations. Wide, technical, and built to race. Every few years, fans start asking the same thing. Why isn't Sepang back yet? It left quietly. But it never really left people's minds. Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Montreal's track is a paradox. It's fast, tight, brutal on brakes, and just unpredictable enough to ruin anyone's weekend. Built on a man-made island in the middle of the St. Lawrence River, Circuit Gilles Villeneuve rewards aggression and punishes arrogance. There's a reason the Wall of Champions sits at the final chicane, and it's not just a nickname. In 1999, that wall claimed Damon Hill, Jacques Villeneuve, and Michael Schumacher all in one weekend. Since then, it's been a test of focus under pressure. One lapse, and you're on highlight reels for the wrong reasons. This track loves chaos. In 2011, it hosted the longest Grand Prix in F1 history, 4 hours and 4 minutes. Jenson Button crashed, served penalties, and dropped to last, then passed Sebastian Vettel on the final lap to win. Absolute madness. Canada only joined the calendar in 1978, but it didn't take long to earn respect. The circuit was renamed in honour of Gilles Villeneuve after his death in 1982, a nod to Canada's beloved homegrown star. It's not the biggest circuit or the flashiest venue, but Montreal always delivers something wild. Interlagos. This place breathes chaos. It isn't the most modern circuit or the cleanest layout. But when F1 lands in São Paulo, anything can happen. High elevation, unpredictable weather, and a roller coaster of corners make it one of the most dramatic tracks on the calendar. In 2008, it hosted one of the wildest title finishes in F1 history. Felipe Massa crossed the line as world champion for about 30 seconds. Then Lewis Hamilton passed Timo Glock in the final corner and stole the title on the last lap. Massa's family was already celebrating. Then the camera cut and everything changed. This track has been Senna's temple. He grew up minutes away and finally won here in 1991, stuck in 6th gear, screaming in pain and triumph at the finish line. Brazil went ballistic. Interlagos is tight, twisty, and built for drama. In 2003, the rain turned the track into a pinball machine. Fisichella won in a Jordan and didn't even know it until the next day. It's the kind of circuit where underdogs have their day and title favourites get wrecked. Suzuka. This track flows like a work of art until it punches you in the face. It's one of the few figure-8 circuits in the world, and every inch of it demands absolute commitment. From the S-curves to 130R, there's no break in rhythm. One missed apex, and your lap turns into a highlight reel for all the wrong reasons. Since debuting in 1987, Suzuka has hosted some of the most dramatic championship deciders in F1 history. In 1989, Prost and Senna collided at the chicane, and Prost got the title. In 1990, they crashed again, But this time Senna made sure he came out on top. It wasn't clean. It was personal. Fans in Japan treat F1 like a religion. Thousands show up in handmade driver costumes, waving banners and camping outside just to hear the engines. And when they cheer, they do it with order and intensity only Japan can deliver. In 2014, Jules Bianchi's crash in heavy rain led to his tragic death, a moment that shook the sport to its core. Safety changes followed, but the magic of Suzuka stayed. Ask any driver. A pole here means you mastered the car. A win here means you earned every corner. Silverstone. This is where it all began. May 13th, 1950. Silverstone hosted the first official Formula One World Championship race. Since then, it's been the heart of British motorsport and the track that every F1 era has passed through. Silverstone isn't just historic, it's violent at full speed. Corners like Copse, Maggots, and Beckett's don't just demand skill. They yank your head sideways and stretch your car's grip to the edge. Over the decades, the circuit's shape has evolved, from airfield runways to sweeping GP curves, but the thrill never left. Nigel Mansell sent fans into a frenzy here in '87. Hamilton dominated in the rain in 2008, and in 2021, the first sprint weekend ended with Hamilton and Verstappen colliding at 180 miles per hour, sending Max into the barriers with a 51G impact. Silverstone still pulls 140,000 plus fans every summer, waving Union Jacks and losing their minds over every homegrown pole position. The paddock calls it one of the most complete tracks on the calendar. It's fast, historical, unpredictable, and loud. When Silverstone roars, the rest of the grid listens, and when F1 comes home, it comes here. Nürburgring Nordschleife. This wasn't just a racetrack, it was a survival test. The Nürburgring Nordschleife stretched over 14 miles through the Eifel Mountains, with 150 corners and blind crests that made every lap a gamble. Drivers nicknamed it the Green Hell, and Jackie Stewart didn't say that for fun. Between 1951 and 1976, F1 held races here that pushed cars and courage past the limit. In 1976, it all came to a halt. Niki Lauda crashed at high speed, was trapped in a fire, and nearly died. He returned 6 weeks later, bandaged and scarred. But that crash ended F1's run on the Nordschleife. It was simply too dangerous. The track was brutal in every way, no runoff, limited safety crews, weather that changed from dry to soaked in 2 sectors. Fangio, Moss and Stewart tamed it, but it took everything out of them. Even today, drivers visit it in production cars just to feel the madness. But F1 never went back. The modern Nürburgring GP track is safer, shorter, but the original loop is now legend. Monza. Speed lives here. Monza is the oldest track on the F1 calendar and still the fastest, with cars averaging over 160 miles per hour per lap. They call it the Temple of Speed, and it's earned that name through raw, no-nonsense racing. Long straights, brutal braking zones, chicanes that snap cars sideways if you misjudge even an inch. And then there's the atmosphere. The Tifosi, Ferrari's devoted army, turned the podium into a religious ceremony. In 2019, Charles Leclerc stood up there after holding off both Mercedes cars in a relentless defensive masterclass. The crowd lost it. Red smoke, chants, flares. It was a riot of passion. But Monza's history isn't all celebration. In the 1960s and 70s, the track was dangerous. Too fast with minimal safety. Tragedies like Wolfgang von Tripp's fatal crash in 1961 still linger. The old banking, now abandoned, once tilted cars toward the sky at impossible angles. Monza has been trimmed and modernised over time, but it still demands bravery. There's no hiding in sector times here. You're either fast or you're finished. Spa-Francorchamps. This track doesn't play fair. Spa is long, fast, moody, and always ready to bite. It stretches over 7 kilometres through the Ardennes forest, with corners that make drivers legends or liabilities. Eau Rouge and Rédillon. That's where your foot stays flat and your nerves either hold or break. Since 1950, Spa has been a driver favourite. They call it pure racing. You get sunshine at one end, rain at the other, and zero time to guess what's coming. The 1998 Belgian Grand Prix? A demolition derby in a downpour. 13 cars wiped out in turn 1. Then Michael Schumacher ran into the back of David Coulthard, walked into the McLaren garage and nearly started a brawl. But Spa also carries weight. In 2019, F2 driver Antoine Hubert died after a horrifying crash at Rédillon. The paddock paused. Drivers cried. Racing kept going, but Spa never felt quite the same after that. This is a circuit where champions thrive. Senna, Schumacher, Hamilton, Verstappen. They've all left their mark, sometimes in gold, sometimes in carbon fibre. Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Bringing Formula One to America's most iconic oval sounded historic, until it turned into a public disaster. From 2000 to 2007, F1 tried to make the Indianapolis Motor Speedway its American home. The idea was bold. Race part of the infield, then launch onto the famous banked oval. But in 2005, everything imploded. That year, only 6 cars started the race. The rest pulled into the pits after the formation lap. All running Michelin tyres deemed unsafe for the banked turn 13. Fans were furious, booing, refund demands, and headlines calling it a farce. Formula One's American reputation took a hit that still echoes. Yet the track itself had potential. Schumacher dominated here in the early 2000s. The US anthem at Indy had a different kind of energy. But the 2005 tyre scandal poisoned the relationship. Sponsors were livid, fans walked out, and by 2007 the event was gone. Indianapolis was built for 300,000 fans and flat-out Indy cars. F1 tried to fit in, but the cultural clash was real and unforgiving. To this day, people don't remember the wins. They remember the walk-offs. Indy gave F1 a chance. F1 gave Indy a black eye, and that was that. Monaco. Tight walls, zero runoff, and a layout that looks more like a toy car track than a world championship venue. Monaco doesn't care about overtakes or logic. It's about legacy. Since 1950, it's been the race every driver wants on their resume. The streets of Monte Carlo wind through casinos, tunnels, and yacht-laced harbours, and one mistake ends your day in a carbon fibre explosion. In 1988, Ayrton Senna was 55 seconds ahead before crashing out. Not from pressure, but from entering what he called a trance. In 1982, the final laps turned into a circus. Cars ran out of fuel, spun, stalled, and a driver not even leading crossed the finish line first. It's chaos wearing a tuxedo. The track itself hasn't changed much in decades. It's narrow, slow, and outdated for modern cars, but Formula One keeps it because Monaco is the sport's crown jewel. Celebrities flood the gridwalk, champagne spills before lights go out, and pole position is usually the race winner, because passing is near impossible. You don't race Monaco, you survive it, and if you win, you join motorsport royalty. Even if the track hates you, the history won't forget you. And that's it, 10 circuits, each with its own chaos, glory, or scars burned into racing history. But here's the real question. If you could erase one track from F1's past and bring back one from the grave, which would it be? And how different would the sport look today? Comment down below. As you leave a like, and subscribe for more videos like this.